John Eustace faces a huge dilemma this summer as he sets up his Derby County side for another season in the EFL Championship. Now, obviously, over the course of his time at Derby County, he's managed, I think it's 14 games as Derby County manager, and he's managed a range of different formations for Derby County throughout that period, including a 4-4-2, a 4-3-3, and most notably that 3-5-2 formation, which got Derby County to survive in the Championship. Now, he did also use a 3-4-3, but that is something that we're going to discuss in this video. Now, obviously for Derby County, most of our success comes when we have played as a back four, and whether that be in the Championship or in League One, I've always felt that Derby County look a much better outfit with a back four. Now, yes, don't get me wrong, last season under John Eustace, we looked at a lot better side in that 3-5-2, but ultimately I just can't see John Eustace sticking to the 3-5-2, the 3-4-3 formation, when at the majority of his other clubs he's played in a back four, whether it be a 4-2-3-1 or a 4-3-3, it always seems to be a back four. Now, when we look at our squad depth chart, obviously we know that Derby County have a lot of work to do in the summer, whether it be renewing the contracts of Thompson, renewing the contracts of Craig Forsyth, whether it be adding to those wing options. We know that Derby County have a lot of work to do, and that is where John Eustace faces this dilemma. Now, we've had reports over the course of the last week that Cody Drammer could potentially be signing for Derby County. They have had a loan bid rejected from Hull City at the moment. Now, he can play in both fullback positions. So does that mean that Craig Forsyth is coming back to be third choice? Does it mean that Ben Osborne is that sort of option in midfield? We're not entirely sure. Or does it mean that Joe Ward and Ryan Iambi may potentially be heading out of Derby County after their injury struggles over the course of the last 12 months? Now, this is where Derby County really do seem to find that dilemma, is because we don't really have many options in midfield to be able to play a 4-2-3-1. Obviously, with just Ibu Adams, Kenzo Helmine and Ben Osborne. And we also sort of can't play a 4-3-3 with that. And obviously then you've got the conversation about our wide areas where we only have Blackett, Taylor, Mendes-Lang and Jackson. And Jackson and Mendes-Lang haven't been good enough this season. And Corey Blackett-Taylor hasn't played enough. So there's a lot of conversations that are going to be ongoing over the course of this summer transfer window as Derby County look to sort of put together a squad that can push for the mid-table of the Championship. And if we look at the moment, there's probably 17, 18 players who are that have to be registered for next season. And that then opens the door about what potential players could leave and what sort of transfer dilemmas from an internal standpoint is John Eustace going to face. Now, Joe Ward, Jake Rooney, Dejan Brown are three players, in my opinion, who could be heading for the exit door in this summer transfer window. Now, I think Dejan Brown and Jake Rooney will both be heading now on loan, but I think that'll happen towards the back end of the transfer window rather than early doors. I think Joe Ward could find himself moving out of the club on a permanent basis unless John Eustace sees Joe Ward as a valid option to play in the right wing position, pretty similar to a position that he played a lot for Peterborough United back in the Championship when Derby County went into administration. Now, there's a lot of questions that need to be asked to John Eustace, in my opinion, about sort of the future of this Derby County team and how he looks to set Derby County up. But ultimately, we're not going to get any answers for at least a couple of months, as our first pre-season friendly isn't until I think it's the 12th of July up against Matlock Town at the Proctor Cars Stadium. And this is where there's a lot of conversations that are open right now for Derby, for the fan base, for content creators like myself to sort of have these discussions about what Derby County can do. Because if you look at Derby County right now, you've got Langas and Nelson who are set to miss the start of the season, which means we need a couple of centre-halves. You've got Ward, who we're not entirely sure fitness-wise where he's at. Niambi in the same boat. And you've got those conversations that have to be had about making sure that we have enough depth for the starting day and across the course of the season. And that is a conversation that needs to be had now. And yes, obviously, John Eustace will be having those transfer discussions as we talk today. John Eustace will be having those conversations probably day in, day out with agents, with players, with the recruitment team at Derby County, the data analysts and everything like that to make sure that we bring in the right players. Yes, we've let a lot go this summer with obviously Fauna, Sonny Bradley, Barkes and Washington, Luthra, Hendrick, Peters and Kmar Roof all moving out of the club. there's no yet confirmation over the futures of Craig Forsyth or Liam Thompson, which obviously then sort of, that could be 2 extra players which Derby County have on this depth chart to sort of, that need to be registered. And obviously for me, I would really love for Craig Forsyth and Liam Thompson to stay, but we've got to make sure we're improving this squad the longer that we stay in this division, and we do need a lot of work to be done. And the big dilemma then falls for John Eustace. What is the budget available for him? Because at the moment, as I'm recording this video, there has been no confirmation of investment into the club, despite the fact that David Cowles has put both the stadium and the club into the same company bracket. There's been no confirmation of any money being inputted into the club or anything like that, which could help Derby into this transfer window. And that sort of then becomes a bigger question of, has John Eustace come to Derby County because he's had those promises, which ultimately then means Eustace may be looking elsewhere in a few months' time? Or are we in a situation where the money is there, they're just not going to announce it till the end of the summer? And I think smart play would be not to announce it, because then teams are going to go, oh, well, we originally wanted £500,000, but now we're going to want £2 million because we know you've got money in the bank. And it's going to be really interesting to see how it plays out. Obviously, as it stands right now, a lot of the links that we've had, the rumours that we've had, the likes of Ricardo Santos, the likes of Camille Conte, obviously Oscar Frulo, things like that, a lot of them, in my opinion, are quite lazy links. Sort of players that are out of contract, players that have had decent seasons, or like obviously Camille Conte's been injured. Oscar Frulo is an easy link because we reportedly had a deal agreed for him in January. So the big question is going to be, where are Derby County going to go, and what formation are Derby County going to line up in? I've obviously got my depth chart in a 4-3-3 because that's where I anticipate John Eustace will move forward with this team. Now, obviously, you can let me know your thoughts in the comments, because it is a very interesting discussion to see where Derby County are going to go, and whether Derby County can push into that 4-3-3 or into a 4-2-3-1 purely depends on what midfield options we bring in and what wide options we bring in. Obviously, there's been a lot of talk about Tyrese Dolan. There's been a lot of talk about potentially, obviously, Oscar Frulo to add to those midfield options. But we don't really have any other wide area links since, obviously, the scouting mission that went to Germany, which I spoke about a few months ago, where I believe one of them was a winger, one of them was a number 10, and one of them was a striker, as the key players that Derby County would have probably been looking at. But there's a lot of work to do for John Eustace, and a lot of work to do on this Derby County squad as we head towards the start of pre-season. I believe the players will be back in towards the end of June. Which would then obviously get them back up to speed, get them through all their fitness tests and ready to go for that first pre-season friendly. In my opinion, they'll probably play a couple of essentially behind closed doors games where, like, they usually do a game first team versus 21s, or they mix up the 21s and first team just to get them 90 minutes essentially. And then you've got obviously those behind closed doors games. I think we played one against Huddersfield last year. And then obviously in the season where it was in League One, we had a couple of behind closed doors games as well, which saw players come back to fitness and things like that during international breaks, I think. So obviously you can let me know your thoughts on this dilemma for John Eustace down in the comments. If you have not done so already, hit that subscribe button and turn on the notification bell. I really appreciate all the support I've had on the channel recently. We're pushing really hard now for, I think I'll be heading towards 2.2 thousand subscribers on the channel. So make sure you hit the subscribe button, you turn on the notification bell, you hit the like button as well, and I'll catch you in my next one.